Hello, this is a unexpected or unplanned video, but I thought I'd just jump on here real quickly as yet another scenario came up. And normally I don't really have a knee-jerk response to things that I see online and take some time, but this one triggered the recent advertisement of a horse that I was familiar with and the illusion of what it was being presented as. And I just wanted to jump on and talk about how often we wind up in these scenarios that we did not intend with the horse, and then we wind up passing off the horse. So this is a little bit of story time. I had a client who wound up with a horse before she'd ever met me that was unsuitable, but she wanted to better help the horse, and she spent a long time learning and finding out about herself and what she needed to bring to her horsemanship. And there was huge aha moments. There was huge things that despite her having ridden for most of her life, she was able to create a much better relationship with this horse, even if it wasn't the ideal equine partner for what it was that she wanted in the long run. It had been in the family a long time, and so it was just a learning opportunity for her and to help the horse get a little bit more mentally, physically, emotionally okay. So you fast forward to where she was on the search for a horse, and of course I'm always helping people buy horses and have long lists of things to check for and understand and how to decipher in between the lines of the sales ad so that there's no illusion of what we're buying, and then we wind up with something else. And she fell into the category where she looked at a few horses, and because of a self-imposed, not a real reality, but a self-imposed timeline of having to buy a horse within a certain amount of time, she wound up buying or making an emotional decision to buy a horse that was better than the rest of the other ones she had seen, but didn't particularly mean that it was suitable for her, and got the horse home, and within a week panicked and called me, saying she didn't know what she had gotten into and had gotten into over her head, because the horse that was sold as the beginner safe, child safe, bomb-proof trail riding horse was now bolting and biting and kicking and having all of these issues. And sadly, this is not a unique scenario. Unfortunately, in what I do, I often am the last stop after main things have fallen apart, after people have gotten hurt or scared, after traumatic events that were completely unnecessary has occurred with horses, and then people come and find me. So I'm the one who sees the results and the consequences from perhaps months, perhaps years, of quick fix solutions, of horses getting handed off and discarded when there's major holes in the foundation in their education. So every human experience leads to overwhelming situations that causes the horse to become physically defensive, and so his behavior becomes dramatic and dangerous. So I'm the one who sees case after case after case after case after case of so many horses, so many different breeds, so many different ages that now are traumatized and reactive and basically dangerous animals, and then people come and find me. So this is not something that is unique. This is not something that unfortunately is rare, and it is something that now takes up a majority of my horse re-education and rehabilitation time, which is something I never set out to do 20-something years ago when I started all of this. So anyways, here's the problem of what happens. Someone buys a horse because they have this irrational, emotionally based reasoning that maybe this horse is better than the previous horses. Maybe this horse seems really sweet in this moment when we're close to them on the ground, and it blinds them from what is actually happening when they're sitting on the horse's back. Someone who, in this case, was someone who spent months with me one-on-one and putting in the time and putting in the effort and learning the horse language, but when the emotional wants, I want it now, override the rational ability to step back and see the horse, irrelevant of what the current owner is saying the horse is. The horse is always honest in their behaviors. So there are plenty of tell signs that the horses can display showing physical agitation, inability to stand still, over enthusiasm, and offering things before asked. There's lots of red flags that even if you don't know why, even if you don't know how come, even if you don't know the history, the horse in this moment is displaying what he is mentally and emotionally experiencing, and therefore he's offering these physical behaviors. and yet so many people want to overlook them, or they want to believe the sales pitch ad, which is often a justification. Here is why the horse is acting like this, or he's just excited, or he's just ready to have a good time. It's all these irrational human emotions that has nothing to do with the horse is experiencing. And so, because it seems like we can sort of ride the horse, we can sort of stop the horse, we take him home. And then we've now taken this already defensive, anticipative, perhaps fearful, reactive animal, and we're bringing him into an entirely new environment. And because I want to go for the ride now, or I want to do this with my horse, we rarely allow for time for that horse to settle into the new location. We rarely reassess how does the horse feel in his new environment, whether it's change in feed and diet and lifestyle and riding and, all these different changes that are happening. It's all about what I want right now. And then when this horse, who started off overwhelmed and who now is continuing in a new situation, being overwhelmed, having new things asked of him, and he doesn't have the education, skill set, or trust in the human experience, he starts acting out, and they do. They're now stuck with a horse that wasn't what they wanted, and they either can financially invest in him and the horse that we want, the horse that we would like to have, or they pass him off to someone else. And often the latter is the case. These horses that are fearful, reactive, defensive, such as this horse that I then met when the owner called me in a panic. The first time I met him and I showed up with the horse trailer, he was rearing, striking, and biting. And it was not the first time that he had done this. You could tell he had been bullied into the trailer. Then they started telling me that the old owners wanted to bring him and deliver him to them, which is unreasonable. They were just a few miles down the road. Red flag, something more is going on. So you can see where this is going. So needless to say, I had to put a lot of time in with this horse, a lot of time. He had so much pain, physical pain from ill-fitting tack, and you could see scarring from how he had been ridden in the past and all kinds of things that I won't even get into. So there was the mental rehabilitation, there was the physical rehabilitation, there was the helping him work through his trauma responses that were severe and over the top and dangerous. He had no social skills to function in a herd and was a horse that was overly aggressive and overly dramatic about things because of his own securities. There were just so many things that went on. And the whole time I was very open and very direct in saying, this is not the horse for you. Now you can continue investing in him, but for your goals and your abilities, this is not the horse for you. Again, the person wanted to invest more time in hopes of giving the horse a better life. If you fast forward, after he'd spent some time with me, he looked a lot better. He could stand quiet. He could be caught without offering to be caught without biting. He could be led in a reasonable way without trying to run over the human. He could be ridden in a side pull on a long rein. There were many successes. He could trailer load just walking into the trailer. But the reality is, just because I was able to get changes with the horse did not then make him suitable for anyone. It was a very specific person with a very specific skill set that would have to be constantly mentally present and aware and available to hear his communication to help this horse maintain this newfound reasonable behavior and mental availability towards the human. Well, as we said, this was not the horse for this particular person's ability, skill set, or goals in what she wanted out of the horse experience. I understand that. I understand that every horse is not a good match, and I'm all for finding the right horse with the right owner. What I am not for is hearing a year later, after he was returned home, that he was now being sold as a child-safe, beginner-safe trail horse that has no kick, no bite, no bolt, and has been owned for years. And these are the scenarios that make my blood boil. And I don't often react strongly to things, but these type of things, because all I imagine is, of course, he probably has a pretty low price attached to him. So it's the person who's uneducated, inexperienced, trusting the ad, not knowing what they don't know, so unaware of how many things are being masked, that this horse is being sold as, and what happens when that horse, who maybe he's under someone, a friend is helping, I guess, this person sell the horse. Maybe they're making it look like it work, or I don't know what the scenario is, but whatever it is, all I can imagine is when this horse gets home, what is going to erupt, what is going to explode, because he had so many years, more than a decade of trauma, of multiple trainers, multiple owners sent all over the country, like a really, really long history of bad experiences with people, to the point to where whatever has happened, including winter when he sat for 6 months in the last year, this is not suddenly a child-safe horse. It doesn't work like that. And so it's not a matter of if, but it's a matter of when all of these past things get triggered and they start coming out to the unsuspecting if a child winds up buying him. And then what happens? Now we have the horse that has more traumatic experience, a human that winds up in a traumatic, fearful, perhaps dangerous situation, or multiple scenarios where they get hurt that were totally unnecessary. And what happens with the cycle? He must be a bad horse. Let's send him somewhere else. And how are they going to portray him? And here's the catch with this horse. I've seen 4 different advertisements of him in the last 4 years, all of which said he was a beginner-safe, child-safe horse. Now, why would every single person who said that and was searching for that when they, in their own search, were buying a horse, would now be selling him, saying the same exact thing? What's going on? What's happening? And this is the thing of like, how do you fix it? How do you stop it? Again, I'm not critiquing for someone for saying, I bought a horse that is not suitable for me. I understand that. What I am critiquing is the illusion of handing off basically the train wreck, the dangerous ticking bomb horse, to an unsuspecting person that winds up not only potentially, the amount of investment, time-wise, energy, money-wise, never mind the mental stress of what do you do when you're stuck in the situation, but the danger, the literal danger of what happens. And unfortunately, we see all these social media videos of all these beautiful, wonderful, romanticized moments with the horse. And what I'd really like to show is how many people are getting hurt all the time that totally could have been prevented had these horses been educated from the start, had these horses not been passed off in ways that were deceitful or creating illusions to where basically one person's mess, they're handing it off to become someone else's. When does it stop? When does someone take responsibility and say, this horse is not suitable for me, and here is why. Here's the reality. I don't understand why he's doing what he's doing, but these are the behaviors I see, and someone with a skill set to be able to deal with those in a safe manner is going to be the suitable person to buy him. So anyways, thank you for listening to my rant, but I have such a hard time with this because so much of the trauma that happens with horses, they're just trying to defend themselves because humans honestly gave them a pretty crappy start and the horse didn't have a chance, and then he just gets handed off over and over. So the cycle continues on that end, and the cycle of people having unwanted, undesired experiences with horses continues because unknowingly they keep acquiring these horses that aren't what they are supposed to be. And so both the human and the horse are less traumatized, and it just goes on and on. Go to any auction yard, go to any kill pen, go to any slaughterhouse, and a majority of those horses never had a chance because they didn't have an education in the first place that kept their curiosity, that built their confidence, that created a willingness to try. And so the uneducated human had no idea that they were adding to the defensiveness, fear, reactivity, and dangerous behaviors in the horse. So I'd love to hear your thoughts. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you next time.